everybody, this is DrHack, and today we're going to learn how to take our pieces to the doctor and hack them to get an evaluation. See what I did there, huh? This is the last video for a while that we're going to do in the middle game. We will come back to this, don't worry. We got a lot of work to go yet in the middle game. But we're doing that because on Monday we're going to start off on our fourth opening that we need to put in for all of us beginner intermediate players into our repertoire. We're going to work on the Sicilian from White's point of view. And if you have a favorite line in the Sicilian from White's point of view, go ahead and put it in the comments. I will definitely take it into consideration, although I'm going to pick one out that is friendly for beginners and easy to learn. Okay? So there we go. So this position that you're looking at is from one of my games many years ago. And there's a lot of ways to look at a chess position and try to decide who's ahead. I want you to do it first of all with your intuition. Look at this and tell me, who do you think is winning and by how much? Pause the video a second if you want to. Okay. So the method we're going to use together is something that I like to call the time, material, quality of the pieces method. This is something that Kasparov came up with many years ago in an interview that I can't remember how long ago it was because I'm too old. There's that. You'll have it, right? I just let it out there into the world wide webs. How old I am. Just old. Okay, so count up the pieces, see who's ahead in point value. When I do that one, I usually like to count like pieces. So I count the pawns and I go, white has 8 pawns, sure. Black has 8 pawns, sure. Okay, so they're tied in pawns. And then I look at the next bigger piece. Remember tiers. Chess pieces have tiers. This is tier 2, the minor pieces. And both players have 2 minor pieces each. Well, that's the same, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. They both have 2 rooks each. Okay. And they both have a queen each. So material value is exactly equal between the two sides. Nobody's ahead in points. That's good to know. That means we're starting from a position of 0. If one guy was ahead by, let's say, a knight, you'd be starting by plus or minus 3 points when you started the evaluation. Okay, so the next thing we do in our evaluation is we look at the quality of the pieces. We try to figure out whose pieces are stronger than the other guys. And most of the time, we're going to be looking at the minor pieces for that help. It is rare that a queen or a rook, the value changes enough to be noticeable, right? Because rooks, if they change too far from 5, like if they go down in value, all of a sudden you're going to want to start to sacrifice them for minor pieces. That's rare that would happen, right? But minor pieces themselves fluctuate up by half a point or a full point sometimes, depending on where they are and what they're doing. Start off with black pieces. How good do you think the 2 bishops are? Which one's the good one? Which one's the bad one? Okay. When I think about bishops, bishops are a very calming force on the game because as one of them increases in value, most of the time the other one decreases in value because you need mobility for those things. And when you put a pawn on a white square, that makes this bishop worse and it makes this bishop better. And when you put a pawn on a black square, that makes this one worse and this one better. So it's like a teeter-totter, one of those old school things that we used to injure ourselves on all the time. Yeah, those. So these two are very stable. They almost always equal 6 points. Although in this case, we have one that's kind of worse than the other, right? Very little mobility, very, very low chances of being able to attack things in the near future. So that one's going to be worth a lot less than 3. But I would never go less than 2.5 on a bishop. It just doesn't make sense to ever do that. So the lowest you'll ever give one, probably that piece right there. And then this one seems to be kind of at value for a bishop. It's about 3. It's not doing great things. It's still running into some of its own stuff, right? But it's also running into some of white's stuff. And that's important because sometimes there's going to be tactics that come up because of that. For example, if this knight were to move somewhere, we could now consider for black the idea that bishop could take pawn. And that would pull the defender of the knight away and maybe the knight could be captured then. Now, if you're savvy, you know that that's not going to work. You can see white's next move and you can see how you would win the game. But we can tell that that bishop does have some life to it, right? It can maybe do something if the conditions are right. The conditions are not right. Okay, so that one's worth at least the full 3, maybe more than 3, but in this case, no mobility, probably not, huh? So black's down a half a point based on these two bishops already. Okay, so white's ahead by half a point. And then we go to the knights and we try to figure out how we evaluate those. And you remember this box. The knights gain value the further up they are inside that box. And this one is up one square from the back row, where here it's worth a full 3. This one must be worth somewhat more than 3. And I generally like to do half-point increments because it's easier to remember, so I would give that one a 3.5, maybe, right? And then the other one is sitting outside of that box. And so it's not necessarily worth more, it's just kind of worth more, right? It can maybe do something that the other knight can't, which is reach the base of the pawn chain, but it doesn't have as many squares. It's only got 6 squares it's attacking. And I am drawing those really badly. Hang on. They go here and here. Ah, there we go. Got it. And so this knight's maybe worth 3.5, and maybe this knight's also worth then just 3.5, not more, because it's not inside the center box. Okay. So now white's ahead by 1.5, give or take. Okay. Well, when you go to quality of the rooks, again, that barely ever changes. It's not going to in this case. None of those rooks are stellar. They're all just kind of okay, right? This one's the best one, believe it or not, because it's attacking something. The others are all defensive. This one's the best one for black because it's attacking something. But neither one of those are better than the other. Okay. And then the queens barely ever change value because they're ninjas and they don't need to. Occasionally you have a queen that just outperforms the rest, and that's when you start giving it extra value. But at that point, usually you don't need to because you're just winning the game. So we come back to this idea now that white's ahead by 1.5, and now we have to do time. And time is the moment when in your evaluation when you start to plug in moves and you start to go, hey, if I played this move, would I win any material? Because what we're really looking for are tactics that win something. That's what we're thinking about when we think about time. Initiative-based moves, forcing things to happen, and winning material. So when we look at this and we start to take it apart, the weak spots are here, right? Attacked twice, defended twice. Here, attacked once, defended once. And here, attacked once, defended once. Okay? And so if you can attack any of those two circles with the same move, you could win something, because that would be a fork. And we see that we can actually do that with this knight move. Great, right? So we've got a knight now that's going to win at least one pawn, probably this one. And that knight, though, to move back here, it moved backwards and lost some value. So maybe it lost about a half point of value, but now it's going to pick up a full pawn. It's going to help pick up a full pawn's worth of value, one way or the other. So maybe we could say that we went from being ahead on this turn 1.5 points to being ahead 1 point and then getting a full pawn, which is now +2 for white. Time is tricky. It changes everything when you start moving things around, doesn't it? Okay. The other idea that we have, and you've probably all spotted it by now while I'm yapping, is the idea that maybe this knight can move forward into the box and gain some value, but also put in a move of initiative, a small piece attacking a big piece. And we see that when we do that, this weakness comes into play. For example, if the rook were to move, now we could play knight takes bishop because the piece that was defending that now has to move away. And when it does, guess what? We get a pawn and we get a fork. That's significant material. We won 1 point, and now we're going to win 2 more. So I would say at the end of this evaluation, at the end of this set of moves, I had to do that to defend the pawn. At the end of these moves, we could say that white's ahead by 3 points worth of material. And all other things have now gone to equal. The piece quality is no longer a thing. We have just extra stuff on the board. Okay. So let's put this on a computer and let's see how we did. Okay, so before I turn the computer on up here, let's remind ourselves we wanted to check this move, right? Because we thought that after we won a pawn, we would be about +2. Right now we're +1.5, but we're taking away a half point of quality and adding 1 point of material. Okay, and then we thought this move was going to be much higher because when we play this move, it creates a situation where we're going to win at least 3 points of material. Okay, good. So let's flip on the machine. It starts off showing us the best move, which we knew. Okay, and let's play this one and make sure that it does verify. It's about 2 points, right? Because we're going to win a point, and we have that extra point of quality here. Half point here minus half point here. Great. And then let's follow through this line, because I feel like this is very instructive how the computer counts and calculates this out. Because I want you to show you, right? It originally says that this is very high for white because it's weighing in the piece quality, and it's also weighing in that we're going to win the 3 points of material. But in a minute, it's going to take this way down because we're going to remove the piece quality from the board as the knights leave. And then we're going to, trade the last knight off. Got to defend this once. And once this is gone, that's actually even higher than I thought it was going to be. But it did take the value down as we played the computer's favorite moves from 6.7 to 4 because the piece quality of the knights got traded off the board. Gone, right? Cool. And I'm supposing that this is 4 because from here we can win an extra pawn from where we even are now after this move. And I'm guessing it's going to be this one. I'm not sure. Good. So I think we nailed that one. Let's do one more. Okay, position number 2. I think you guys should test yourselves on this one. Take a minute. Try to count the material, try to check the piece quality, and then look for moves that might win material. Look for time moves. This is black to move. Okay. So first of all, counting the material, again, very easy. All the pawns are still on the board, 2 minor pieces still on the board, 2 rooks still on the board, and a queen. Material is exactly equal. Again, we're starting from a position of 0, 0 material. Great. How about piece quality? This one's a little bit trickier than last time because these knights are not good, are they? They're both outside of that square where we said the normal value of the knight starts. Neither of them are worth a full 3 points because they're not inside the square. This one too, it's not inside the square. It's not worth its full 3, but it is further up the board. That's interesting, right? And then the bishop is technically the bad bishop because it's running into its own stuff. All the minor pieces have something wrong with them. Yikes, right? So we can take away a little bit of value for these. Maybe you take away a half point total. Or you can even, if you want to keep it even, you can take away a half point each. I think that's overkill for the knights. But maybe not. Maybe not to you, right? Maybe you take this one and you go, hey, he's a little bit better than 3. Or maybe he's worth just 3 because he's not inside of that square. He's just outside of it. We could say that, okay? And maybe this one's worth the full 3 because even though it's the bad piece, it's still attacking stuff. It's still causing problems for white or for black. And black definitely doesn't want to trade for it because that will make the rooks get better as the files open and they can move in. So this is going to be here a good long time, huh? So quality, I would say, is very, very even, but I think it favors white. Okay, I think it favors white because of this piece right here. And now we look for moves that are winning material or winning it with time moves. So moves of initiative, small pieces attacking big pieces, and winning stuff, tactics. There's only one tactic possible on the board. There's only one weak spot, and it's right here. Hopefully you spotted that, the only hanging piece. And so maybe we can play a move that wins that pawn. Well, in order to attack something, you've got to freeze it in place. So maybe we'd want to look at this move first to make sure it can't move, and then move a knight in to try to get it, right? And that makes sense too, because if we play this move, the knight has to move backwards and it becomes worse. It has to now go back to the second row, which is going to be very, very much the same as these. And if you look at the path that it has to get back into the game, guys, it's a long one. If he goes this way, he'll have to walk around all the way to here before he can even try to get back in the game again. That's crazy, right? If he goes this way, maybe his path is, I don't know, even longer? Question mark? I'm not sure. But I do know that it is going to get worse. I'm going to put it back here because that way the queen can come and defend the pawn if it needs to. Oh, and it needs to, right? So we didn't, in fact, win the pawn. Huh. Okay. Well, if we could have won the pawn, then we would be +1, but our knight's still worse than his bishop. But if you look at this final position, that one's better than the bishop. That one's worth about 3. That one's worth less. So our moves there, the last 3 moves, have changed the evaluation of this position in a big way to favor black. It was even, or maybe white was ahead at the very beginning. Now at the end of that, these forced moves, maybe black's ahead by a little bit. Right? Let's check our answer. Okay, so we thought that if black played any move except for this one, the position was probably slightly better for white because his minor pieces were better, right? So I'm gonna turn on the computer, but I'm gonna check this move. I don't want to give away the evaluation of this one yet. I want to check this move, and I just want to see if white is in fact ahead. He is, just barely, right? The knights trade off the board, and what's left is a bishop that is out-qualitying the knight at the moment, but just barely, right? Okay, good stuff. So then let's go back and let's see the best move then. White is in fact, or black is in fact ahead. The computer can see that the knight's quality gets worse. It actually wants to give up the full pawn. Yikes. And then we can move the knight in to attack the pawn, which brings the queen over. And then we can put our knight into the game. And we see that black got further and further ahead with each one of those moves because the quality of his pieces increased, the pressure on white's position increased, and white's pieces got worse in value. Cool, right? So now we know how to evaluate positions. Well, I hope you guys can go and use this. I hope this helps somebody. This is not something that you do in the middle of a chess game. This is something that you do in analysis after the chess game so you can train your intuition to do better the next time around. Good luck, everybody. We'll see you on Monday with some Sicilian. Take care now.